Great. I'm really thrilled you stepped up to the plate to run for this position. You know, it's tough running in a primary and going against establishment candidates, isn't it?
Well, it is, Mark, and that's one of the reasons we decided to get in this race. We got in as the underdog, but like most people, I'm concerned about the direction of our country, and I believe we need leaders that are going to go join people like Ted Cruz and Mike Lee to stand up to the D.C. establishment.
And I just want people to know, not because it makes a substantive difference, but it is interesting and you have a compelling story. You're an African-American, so why don't you tell the audience how you got into politics, why, and how you became a conservative and so forth?
Well, I've said this before, Mark. My first job in politics was working for my mentor, Congressman J.C. Watts. My wife and I are now business owners. We own a consulting business. We do public relations consulting work. But I didn't learn my conservative values from watching Fox News, which I watch a lot. I didn't learn it from even reading your books, Mark. I learned them from from the pews of my church, Bethlehem Baptist Church. That's where I learned the values of hard work and family and loving God and loving country. And that's what's made this country great. And that's what we've got to get back to. Although I am a big fan of both your books.
Let me ask you this. You see what so many of us see, right? And that is that the direction of the country, if it doesn't change, we're going to lose the essence of this nation.
No, that's exactly right, Mark. I mean, when you think about, where we have, squandered away, so much prosperity because we haven't relied on conservative principles. Conservative principles are what lead to prosperity. We proved it when I was Speaker of the House of Oklahoma by reforming welfare, requiring a work requirement for people that receive food stamps. This idea that we can have people addicted to government and that more government is going to solve our problems. The federal government, there are constitutionally enumerated powers that we have to hold Congress accountable to, and that's why I'm running for the United States Senate. And, people want to know more. We've said it on our website at twshannon.com that we need to return this country back to the constitutional basis of which it was based and to return to those conservative principles and values. And we're getting a great response. I'll tell you, we started out 37 points behind, Mark, against the lead candidate, and we've now closed it to a single-digit race in less than 40 days, and we've got terrific momentum.
And T.W. Shannon, that's who I'm talking to. I've endorsed for the Senate in Oklahoma. He's a very, very solid, good man, and we need him in Washington. The whole country, we need him in Washington. That's why I have him here. You have a lot of important endorsements, don't you? Name a few.
Well, we've been very blessed, Mark. First of all, we're excited about your endorsement. From the time you made it official a couple of days ago, we've gotten terrific response from fellow patriots across the country. But we have other endorsements from people like Sarah Palin, the Senate Conservative Fund. We also have been, excited about the grassroots support we've got all around the state of Oklahoma. I believe it's going to take conservatives from around the country pulling together that are going to, be able to send candidates that will say no to this expanding federal government and to say no and stand up to the liberal policies of Barack Obama. And so I'm honored to have your support, but we've got to go out there and win. And that's what we've been doing, taking our message to the voters, and people are responding. People are ready to return this country back to what made it great, and that's conservative principles on which it was based.
And by the way, it was Sarah Palin who brought you to my attention and said, I really want you to take a look at this T.W. Shannon. He's very, very solid. He's your kind of candidate. And I took a little bit of time, and I did exactly that, and she's quite right. And T.W. Shannon, I just want the entire country to know that when and if you get into the United States Senate, and I pray you do, when you vote, you'll not just be voting for Oklahoma, but these are national issues. That's why I want people all over the country to get excited about your race, to pay attention to your race, among others, but today we want to pay attention to you. What is your website?
At twshannon.com, Mark, and I've said this before, if more government was the solution to our problems, then North Korea would be a superpower. This country was made great by people and business owners and people coming together in local communities, not by oversized, bloated federal government.
Mm-hmm. Now, the lead Republican, as I understand it, in the primary is a congressman in Washington. Not to put him down or anything, but he has a very strong allegiance and alliance with Boehner. Isn't that correct?
Well, that certainly has been discussed before, and I think people are tired of sending people to Washington, D.C., who completely go along, just to get along. As Speaker of the House, I stood up to the establishment by saying no to more debt. I stood up by saying no to the expansion of Obamacare. We even voted to nullify Obamacare while I was Speaker of the House, because I believe very strongly in the values of this country. And we need leaders that are going to go to Washington and not say one thing and do another. And elections are important because they hold people accountable, and that's what Republican primaries are about.
When were you Speaker?
I was elected Speaker designate in 2011 and served and was sworn in 2013, and just recently stepped down to run for the United States Senate. And to be successful in this race, Mark, I need the help of your listeners. It's going to take conservatives from across the country pulling together to support constitutional conservatives who still believe this is the greatest nation on earth and believe in American exceptionalism.
And I suspect you're being heavily outspent by money bags coming in from outside the state, and you're going to need grassroots support from people like my listeners, correct?
There is no doubt that the Washington, D.C. establishment has targeted our race, and that's why I'm excited to have, your endorsement. But in order to be successful, I need the help of your listeners. And if they want to know more about me, we put my entire biography, my entire voting record on our website at twshannon.com, and we need all the help we can get from fellow patriots.
We have that site up, Mr. Producer, on my social sites. All right, we have it up there, folks. You have all weekend to take a look. For me, you're one of the rising stars and one of the bright lights in the conservative movement in the Republican Party, and we sure as hell need you and 10 like you, 20 like you, 50 like you there. And it's an honor to meet you, my friend.
Mark, it's my pleasure. Thank you for your endorsement, and thank you for having me on. Thank you to your listeners for their support and help as well.
God bless you. You take care and good luck. And that election, by the way, that primary is June 24th. You might say, oh, he's got plenty of time. No, he doesn't. There's early voting in Oklahoma like every other state, too. So the more people, and we're heard in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, our wonderful affiliate there. Tulsa, Oklahoma, our wonderful affiliate there. We're heard all over the state of Oklahoma. But I'm talking to the entire country here. I don't care where you're from. Florida, Maine, New Hampshire, Illinois, North Dakota, Texas, California, everything in between, everything around. Remember what I said, and you know this to be true. We have to stop supporting the Republican apparatus. We have to stop feeding the Republican establishment. We need to support individual candidates, in my humble opinion. And I've looked into this fellow's background. Sarah Palin has explained to me why she's so supportive of him, and she's right. And so I've endorsed him. And I'm going to bring some of the other candidates on here, too, whom I've endorsed. Mr. Bevin, Mr. McDaniel, Mr. Dr. Wolf. They don't know this yet, but I am. And I'm looking at other states, too. I'm not going into 20 or 30 states. It's just that I'm looking around the country. Some of these folks need help. Win, lose, or draw, we need to get in a fight. Don't we? And I'm attacked because I often pick underdogs. Well, so be it. When I was the first to endorse Ted Cruz, he was an underdog. When I was among the first to endorse Mike Lee, he was an underdog, and I can go down the list. Rubio, he was an underdog. He was at 5%. So, same with House races, too. And what they'll do is say, oh, you're not that influential. Look at all the ones you lost. That's not my point. My point is to bring these people to your attention. You know, we always talk about solutions. I wrote the Liberty Amendments because I felt we have a serious problem that even elections, national elections, can't fix. So I laid it out. Here at the national election time, we're in an election cycle. We're in a midterm election cycle. We have Republican primaries going on. We're in battles here where these people are getting a fortune in money from the corporatists, from the neo-statists, to defeat people who are trying to save the country, like T.W. Shannon. Well, it's going to take us to back a T.W. Shannon, or we're going to lose. It's not just a question of him winning. It's a question of all of us winning. It's not a question of me winning. Look, I have an ego. Don't get me wrong. We all do. But win, lose, or draw, I don't sit here and cry about it. We just try and do the right thing. You have other hosts that go on and on and on about what we need to do. Well, they ought to get behind some of these people. I have. T.W. Shannon, Oklahoma. He would be a great senator, in my humble opinion, based on what I know. Now, by the way, if people get elected, I'm not talking about him now, and they reverse course, I apologize for that. I can't control that. It's like a president, a conservative Republican president, putting somebody on the Supreme Court, and within 3 or 4 years, they reverse course. You can't control that. All you can do is try and deal with the reality that exists, which is what I'm doing. You heard the man. He's a good man. And he'll be attacked, not just because he's a conservative, not just because he's taking on the Republican establishment, because he happens to be black and a conservative. Well, can't have that, can we? Well, yes, we can. And yes, we must.